This is Weirdly Enough, your regular podcast for strange stories and amazing facts, delivered straight to your favorite podcast directory and at weirdlyenough.com. Now, here are your hosts, Andy and Len.
Thank you so much for listening to the Weirdly Enough podcast. Do like and subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. We're just about everywhere. So wherever you think you can get a podcast, do find us there. If you have one of those smart speakers, you can ask it to play our podcast. Just ask it to play Weirdly Enough podcast and it'll come up. How good is that? Hello, I'm joined with Len today. How's things?
Never better.
We're going to be talking about transhumanism today, I believe. We'll get on to that in a minute. I just wanted to talk about this. Do you remember the band Blink-182?
Yes, frontman was Tom DeLonge, I believe.
Tom DeLonge, he was kind of the co-creator and co-frontman. I would have described it, and they've been on the go for a long time, like way back to the 90s, but I would describe that genre of music as nerd rock.
All the small things.
Yeah, it's kind of nerdy.
I would describe it. I used to describe it as nerd rock.
What would you describe it as?
Do you know what I describe it as? I just say I describe it as low T core.
Low T core, right?
Low T.
Low T. What does that mean?
Low testosterone.
Oh right, okay.
Low T core.
They've got.
It pretty much is, yeah.
I'm sorry, this isn't a music podcast, I know, but apparently they've got a new song coming out called "Edging," which I assume it's about.
I don't like the sound. This is supposed to be a family-friendly podcast.
It's about gardening or decorating or something like that.
I don't know what else you were referring to.
They had an album out called "Enema of the State."
That sounds pretty unpleasant.
That was the one with the nurse on it, on the cover, putting on the glove.
You see, to be honest, it's a creative decision I probably wouldn't have gone with.
Yeah.
For many reasons. It's all very just unpleasant.
So why is this significant to a weird news podcast? Well, the band originally separated when their guitarist and co-lead singer Tom DeLonge embarked on a new career to find the truth about aliens and UFOs. Some people scoffed that a rock star would go off to uncover alien conspiracies, but it seems DeLonge actually made quite a few breakthroughs. He alleges that the US government gave him or showed him evidence of the existence of extraterrestrials, and he even says he encountered alien activity while camping on the famous Area 51 site. So he said he was in a tent and he heard aliens outside the tent, just standing straight outside the tent, talking. About 20 aliens all standing around talking. So there you go. We could spend an entire episode talking about DeLonge and what he's found out. But we're not going to do that. But we're just going to go back and listen to some nerd rock.
Though, if the spirit moves me, if the muse points me in that direction, we may be doing in the near future a deep dive into Tom DeLonge and his To the Stars Academy.
Okay.
Which might be worth, I can pull some stuff together. It might be worth it.
Did he have a film out? I think there was a documentary movie. It might be on Netflix or one of those streaming services.
He was big involved in this whole sort of disclosure thing.
Right.
To do with the disclosure of the US government getting involved with aliens and whatnot.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So if you're a Blink-182 fan, I don't think I've ever met a Blink-182 fan, but if you are, I'm sure you'd be pleased.
Number bands, that's what I would have called them as well.
Number bands. So
like, Ocean's... that's a film, isn't it? I was going to say Ocean's 11. What's the one? It's like they're based out of LA.
Sixpence None the Richer was one, and
they're all numbers. And Nickelback. And then there's that one with the chap that couldn't keep his shirt on. He reckoned he was God's gift to woman. A little dark haired chap. It kind of looked a bit like Zelensky. Terrible band. It'll come to me. What was the name of them? It was something. It wasn't Ocean's 11, obviously, but it was something. Maroon 5. That was it. 5, yeah. I honestly.
Was that the Moves Like Jagger guy?
Oh, gee.
Moves Like Jagger.
Imagine having the audacity.
Yeah.
To compare yourself to Mick Jagger.
Well, I think he was saying someone else moved like Jagger. Maybe it was the girl or something.
Oh, and even the sound of the music, the production, his vocals, the lyrics, everything. Absolutely. I say up until recently, I actually thought I had a road to Damascus moment because I always thought, because I used to think, what band I hate more than any other?
Yeah.
And I always thought it was Nickelback. A lot of people hate Nickelback. But then I kind of realised, well, they're not really that offensive, really. But you know who I do hate?
Who?
Maroon 5.
Yeah.
Wretched band, and he is a wretched.
Rob Thomas. Is that the guy's name?
He might be from Judas Priest.
No,
I don't know.
I used to do a radio show, and there was a featured artist thing where you picked out one band and paid a couple of tracks from that. I can't remember what we did exactly, but I remember someone saying to me once, "Oh, hey, you doing this?" Like, it was. So I'm trying to care. Radio was boring, but he says, "Why don't you do a super? What were they called?"
Supertramp?
No, Supersonic. It wasn't Supersonic. It was Subsonic or.
Subsonic. They were a terrible band, weren't they?
Like a secret smile.
Oh God!
You got a secret smile.
Words cannot express.
I have to turn your mic down here.
Words can. I'm actually going on the ramp.
Yeah.
Words cannot express how much I absolutely and utterly loathe
Secret smile.
Sacred Smile. It is again. It's wretched. It's like a computer has written it.
Yeah. Semi-sonic.
Semi-sonic Sacred Smile.
Nobody knows.
It's music for people who don't like music.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you say if you're out at Christmas, and do you ever go to office days or work days at Christmas?
No.
Well, I unfortunately I've been to many.
Yeah.
Many work days, far too many really. But anyway, you say when you're at a work day, and one of the things is you often go to these venues where there's other firms there.
Right.
And and they're all kind of it's weird because you look around, it's all versions of you and your colleagues, from another firm.
Oh,
sounds ghastly. But yeah, I mean, Sacred Smile, it's a bit like Coldplay or Maroon 5.
Yeah.
It's like you can imagine, when it gets to a bit of karaoke, it's somebody from, an insurance firm or maybe some HR department might step up and do a bit of Sacred Smile. It's that sort of music. It's office rock, as I used to call it,
As you know, I work in trucking, a driver, and the ones that I was about to say muck about with, the ones that I work with, they would go out all the time, and they invariably go to a club and then tell women in the club that they own a haulage company. Now, I don't know what that is going to impress anyone. Oh yeah, we own the company.
That's
no,
that's like the sort of thing you do when you're a kid, because I'll name no names and no places, but I think everyone goes through a phase when they're trying to, as the vernacular would put it, cop off with birds.
Cop off.
That's what we used to call it back in the New Lad era of the 90s. But yeah, that was a standard modus operandi where you'd pretend to be somebody you weren't. And I remember pretending to be an airline pilot and just ridiculous things.
Do you remember that ball lad we hung about with?
Yes.
No names.
No names.
He used to. I think he owned a motor factors and stuff at different times, and motor dealer.
Yeah. No, but no, it's just fit and well you're looking.
Anyway, we've been digressing for about 8.5 minutes.
But this is what we do. We digress.
Transhumanism.
Yeah.
I was nearly going to go into a completely different wormhole there that we don't want to explore.
One of the themes of season 4 is it's like a pop cultural kind of thing, and in the spirit of that, I'm going to quote Mr. David Bowie.
Yeah.
You gotta make way for the Homo superior.
Yes, you do.
Because transhumanism is a weird thing, because I did a bit of research on it, and whenever you go to the conspiracy guys, they're all sort of very anti transhumanism. But I'm kind of pro transhumanism. I'm all up for it.
Is this kind of making a human robot hybrid? Is it
sort of, amongst other things, but I'm sort of all up for it. I want to be downloaded up to the Matrix. I'm cool with that.
Have you heard of there's a game out at the minute? It's out a couple of years, Cyberpunk 2077.
Yes, yeah.
I'm playing that at the moment actually, and it's all about everybody you meet has these chips in their head, and you can like scan them and all different things. It's quite this is basically what we're talking about today. So kick us off then, please.
Right, it's basically transhumanism boils down to the merging of humanity with technology. And it's particularly promoted by the intellectual elite, these famous sacred unknowns and not so sacred knowns.
A bit like what we talked about last week, and the what was that we talked about?
These things all kind of blend into each other, really, don't they?
Yeah.
Predictive programming, and there's a lot of
it.
predictive programming about transhumanism.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people have had a long-held fascination with improving humanity by merging it with technology. And there's some people that seem to think that transhumanism holds the key to immortality. However, a lot of people think for the ordinary folk, for the plebs, the agenda might be different. And there's a fear that we're all going to have microchips and brain implants inserted on us, so that everyone can be tracked all the time.
Yes. Well, that's what they did with the vaccine, isn't it?
And there's
we can't say
allegedly.
That. I think if we say anything about vaccines,
I think you get cancelled.
Probably be taken off YouTube. So
exactly, because YouTube are really strict about stuff. Because like our little YouTube presence, it's small but growing.
No, we're not saying anything about that. YouTube,
yes,
honestly.
And there's an argument to get the public sort of entrained into the right mindset. Things like pets have been chipped for years now, so it's to get people kind of used to it. Now, David Icke argues that the long-term plan is to have a microchipped world population linked by remote-controlled radio signals.
Right.
So that you can literally press a button and it be like, go and buy Coke or whatever, which is basically the plot of The Matrix.
Okay.
Again, this ties in, as I said, what we were discussing about last week in episode 2. Which is basically like the plot of The Matrix.
Yeah.
In his book, The Perception Deception, Icke breaks it down. He says Google is the predominant player in the transhumanist agenda, and technology like Google now is designed to track and manage every aspect of people's lives, with the ability to know if you're walking, driving, or riding a bicycle, when you're at home, and able to recognise your voice patterns, which are an expression of your unique vibrational signature. Because Dave believes that we're all energy, we're all like operating on different sort of vibrations,
If you have Google on your phone at night, like if you go somewhere and it seems to know every shop and every building that you go into, but if you go somewhere and it doesn't quite know where you were, it says, "Do you want to update your timeline?" No, I don't.
This happens all the time. Recently, myself and a friend, we have some quite deep chats, and believe it or not, we were over a cup of tea. We were chatting about the current crisis in masculinity,
right?
And one aspect of that is it's like my dad always says, "Oh, you should be good with engines because blokes have to be good with engines." But the weird thing is, we were going on about this. But then my mate says, "You know what happened to me when I got home? Went on YouTube, guess what? There's random ads for like
being good with engines
and motor mechanics stuff. So there's definitely this weird thing. It's definitely listening on.
Yes.
Now, these stepping stones are promoted as an end to the great new gadget when they're systematically taking people down a very dark and dangerous road. The modern Pied Piper has ditched the pipe for a smartphone. And there's a hardcore of people who believe we should all ditch our smartphones because it's like, enabling the sort of enslavement,
Especially all these, what is it they call them, smart speakers, these things in your home that and people actually pay money to buy a product that is listening to you all the time.
Things like Alexa and whatnot,
all their ones are available, I'm sure.
Google Executive Chairman Eric Schmidt said in 2013 the company could produce artificial intelligence within 5 to 10 years that would be indistinguishable from the human mind. Schmidt is obsessed with the transhumanist agenda and has described concepts like sending a robotic clone of himself to social events and swallowing nanotechnology to regulate his body. His desire for a society run by robots and transhumanist technology is shared by so-called futurists such as Ray Kurzweil, who wants to see humans merge with machines and have a global society controlled by computer systems with an artificial intelligence that surpasses that of the entire human race. So yeah, one guy I became aware of years ago is a guy called Kevin Warwick. Have you ever heard of him?
No.
He's a funny guy. He's a professor of cybernetics at Reading University.
Okay.
And he has a website that describes him carrying out research in artificial intelligence, control robotics, and biomedical engineering.
Yeah.
And he kind of experiments on himself. Like, he's a bit of a kind of robot man.
Right.
Warwick has been a highly vocal advocate of microchips being inserted into humans, and he's actually undergone the process himself.
Right, okay.
Proudly proclaiming that he has had a device implanted into the median nerves of his left arm to link his nervous system directly to a computer.
Yeah.
And that he was responsible for the first purely electronic communication between the nervous system of two humans. So he's kind of already doing this. He's kind of like his own sort of bionic man, Kevin Warwick. Now, the big thing they always talk about is the singularity. Have you ever heard of that?
It's where machines suddenly take over, is it?
Sort of, yeah. An important landmark that these guys are aiming for is a singularity. And basically, a simple way of putting it is the point at which the intelligence of artificial intelligence will surpass that of real humans.
Okay.
Did you see the other day the AI robot person giving a speech to the Lords?
No.
This happened purely by synchronicity, just when I was kind of putting this together. And they were basically, it was sort of about the pros and cons of AI, but it was absolutely bizarre. And it was like literally this robot, this kind of female kind of robot person, giving this whole big speech, and all the Lords were sitting there going, "Oh, yes, very good, yes," to this robot.
Yeah.
It's pretty, yeah. So the question is, when is the singularity going to happen? And there's different debate about it. There's different dates that are sort of thrown about. But in a 2017 article for Futurism.com, Ray Kurzweil reckoned it could happen by about 2045. So it's not really that far in the future.
Away, yeah.
And to the, you might sort of think, oh, it can never happen. But I mean, look what's happened since the 90s.
Yeah.
If you go back to the mid-90s, very few people had mobile phones, never mind smartphones. It was a big deal if somebody had a mobile.
Look what's happened since then.
Yeah, those who now having a PC wasn't really a given, and those who did would mostly not have been hooked up to the internet, and if they were, it would have been dial-up, and it would have been a big deal and took ages.
Well, there's no streaming and
no broadband.
Sound.
Yeah. Email was mainly a business thing, and even in businesses, they were doing a lot of stuff by letter and fax in the mid-90s still. And there's no such thing as self-scanning and shops. That would have been science fiction. No sat-nav for cars. No socials.
No.
No Insta, no Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook.
What lovely times they were to live.
Simpler times, and a big change that everyone has felt is the impact of tech on the world of work. I mean, if you're not on board with tech, you forget about an office job. It's not going to happen. So, and then obviously COVID accelerated this. I mean, they reckon a lot of people think COVID probably pushed things along by about 10 years. Because a lot of the way we work now wasn't really expected to happen for another 5 to 10 years, but COVID just sped that along. With the lockdowns, etc.
Death of the high street and everything going for online shopping now.
Totally. I mean,
really...
you could do shows and shows about this. This is endless. You got work from home, Zoom, and stuff like that. I mean, it's like sort of video conferences. It's not a particularly new thing. I mean, it has been around for a few years, but it's become like a real thing since COVID.
It's part of our lives now.
Yeah. And also the big thing, it's the elephant in the room, and it's become something of an obsession of mine, because nobody seems to really be taking us on board. The education system hasn't taken us on board. The big elephant in the room next 20 years is going to be automation.
Right.
Because automation is coming for your jobs.
Yeah.
And it's coming for jobs that you might not even expect.
Yeah.
You could be in a situation by 2040 where there's very few things still being done by people. It's really, really scary when you look into it. And that ties into the whole sort of society question of how do you adapt to that?
Yeah, and governments are starting to look at universal income. I think the Swiss already have a universal income system where everybody gets paid about $20,000, something like that.
And then is that I mean, that's a whole debate in itself. You know,
if
that's
you want
part
to
of
work, you can. If you don't want to work, well, you can just live on that. That's the way it is over there.
It's the social and psychological impact of us. I mean, you know, every year people have this whole thing about A levels and GCSEs and results, and I often think, well, this is all well and good.
Yeah.
But what happens if you're preparing people for jobs that won't exist anymore?
Yeah.
And how do you do? I mean, who's going to be the government that's going to have to turn around and say, "Oh, hit the top"? You know, it's a conversation that it ain't been had. But anyway, that's one for other people. Even taxi drivers are potentially under threat from self-driving cars.
What was one Blade Runner called? Johnny Cabs.
I mean, there's a mate of mine. He often compares Belfast now to a kind of crappy version of Blade Runner.
Yeah.
And he says the only thing missing is Johnny Cabs.
Johnny Cabs. Yeah.
But Johnny Cabs, I suspect, are probably on their way. Because they're running it's something very similar to Johnny Cabs at the moment in San Francisco, I believe.
Yeah.
As a trial run to see if it's going to work, and that's going to be spreading out across the rest of the states in the next few years.
Wonderful.
In a 2015 interview for the Australian finale, see, again, this is not just David Icke and all the crazy people. This is like proper people, like CEOs of companies and sensible people talking about this. 2015 interview for the Australian Financial Review. Steve Wozniak of Apple fame gave a stark warning. He said, and this is what I talk about, computers are going to take over from humans, no question. If we build these devices to take care of everything for us, eventually they'll think faster than us, and they get rid of the slow humans to run companies more efficiently. So we could all be obsolete. The article goes on to quote Elon Musk, stating that humans could be banned from driving in years to come.
Yeah.
With cars instead controlled by robots. Now, Elon Musk, it's hard. I don't know. Sometimes I think he kind of likes to kind of troll people a little bit. So it could just be a bit of hyperbole from Elon Musk. But yeah, it's something to think about. Now, the same article, this was published in 2015, so it's not even a new article. And this is actually something that surprised me, because I didn't think in 2022 this was a thing.
Yeah.
But this was a thing in 2015. There's a hotel called Peng, I'm going to butcher this, but it's called Peng Hang Space Capsules Hotel.
Okay.
And again, I'm butchering this, apologies. Shenzhen, I think it is, in China, and staffed and operated entirely by robots.
Right.
I don't think there's even a concierge that's human.
No.
I think even the cleaners are robots. This is proper scary.
Yeah.
Now, the savings in staff costs, because they don't have any human staff, they don't have to pay any salaries, let the hotel offer rooms as cheap as the equivalent of £6.80 per night. Because they don't have to pay anybody. So, I don't know if they have I mean, capsules implies it could be pretty basic accommodation. It could just literally be a little pod, a lot of my spelling's all over the place. It says a lot of coronations. It's actually a lot of corporations.
Right.
Are now making being chipped a mandatory condition of their employment on the grounds of health and safety.
What, chipped under the skin or just
chipped under the skin?
Right. Okay.
And the youngsters are well up for this. I think this is fantastic. Sweden's epicenter high-tech business hub in Sweden is a place where staff of the companies that rent office space have had to get chips implanted under their skin, even to open the office doors, and even to use the photocopier. And they think this is great. They do this in Sweden. I remember I heard a thing on Radio 4 one time about work-life balance.
Right.
And how in the UK it's, people kind of get, maybe they need to sort of think more about that. But in Sweden they take work-life balance really seriously. Yeah. But there's a firm, it was one of these kind of high-tech kind of tech firms in Sweden, where they had a thing where you have to go after 6. They don't want anybody working on into the night. You do your office hours and that's it. So at 6 o'clock, the desks and the computers and the seats disappear.
Right.
So things either
disappear.
They just switch off, and everything either goes under the ground or up under the ceiling.
Right.
So you literally can't. You just have to go. At 6 o'clock, it's like, goodbye. We'll see you tomorrow. Yeah. You've done enough work. Because they don't want people, because they find people were staying on too late, and they want them to have a better work-life balance, Hans Schobad, the Chief Disruption Officer. It's a very modern...
What's a disruption officer?
This is a term. This is one of these kind of terms people throw around, like disruption.
Yeah.
It's tech. They use it a lot in tech. They always talk about tech firms. It's like Uber.
Yeah.
Uber was a disruption thing that disrupted the existing market, sort of way, He was the Chief Disruption Officer at the company which makes the chips. And he says, we already interact with technology all the time. Today it's a bit messy. We need PIN codes and passwords. Wouldn't it be easy to touch with your hand? That's really intuitive. And this is how they'll get people. I believe this will win out because two things will happen. You'll get the youth that will come up and they're so used to technology.
Yeah.
That'd be like,
They'll
whatever.
enjoy it, yeah.
Sorry, a bit of the old water there. And also, it'd be the easiness of it. Because how many times... Because, I always say to people... I don't like using self-service. Because my argument is, you're literally destroying people's jobs every time you do it. But I have to admit, it is kind of handy. And, I'm not the most sociable of people. And I must admit, if it's first thing in the morning on a Monday and I'm not in particularly good form... I don't really want to talk to anybody.
Yeah, I much
Tesco,
prefer it.
I just use it because I got my earphones and I'm just been a bit antisocial.
I know. I must, but I don't really get the argument of you're taking other people's jobs in the climate at the minute because jobs aren't being filled. There's a big labour shortage at the minute, so maybe people want to do something a bit more entertaining than just serving.
This is turning into the weekly business podcast. It's like business podcast from Andrew and Len. According to it's another 2015 story from this publication, The Business Insider, a mind-boggling 25% of Australians say they're at least slightly interested at the prospect of having a chip implanted in their skin that could be used for payments.
Right.
The research by credit card company Visa and the University of Technology in Sydney found Australians are open to the prospect of paying for items using wearable tech, including smartwatches, rings, glasses, and even a connected car. There's an ongoing push now to chip patients with dementia. Yeah. The argument is that they can be easily traced if they wander off in a state of confusion.
Okay.
And just to round off, which is looking to be another big episode by the looks of things.
I'm just doing some dusting.
We're back to. You say, wouldn't it be easier if you had a little robot to do it?
I know. Yeah. Definitely.
Back to pop culture. And one of your favourite guys, Will.i.am.
Oh yeah, I love it. Will.i.am.
Willie, is it Will.i.am or Will.i.am? How's one?
It's Will.i.am.
I'm turning into one of these judges. Who are these Beatles people? That's the point.
What's Will.i.am up to these days?
What isn't he up to? A quick quote for you from the old Zaga and Evans in the year 2025 from 1969 that I think is quite on point.
Yeah.
In the year 5555, your arms hanging limp at your sides. Your legs got nothing to do. Some machine's doing that for you.
But it's a long way in the future, so I don't think we should be that worried.
I think it's more like it, and this is more the way. We're getting like this now. We're all turning to like limbless blobs.
Yes.
Hooked up to the Matrix, The merging of man and machine has been a consistent theme in pop, especially since the rise of electronic music in the late 70s and early 80s. Artists such as Kraftwerk and Gary Newman conjure an image of technology, computers, and man as robot as both sinister yet strangely seductive. Newman, who is the new man.
New man, okay.
Heavily influenced by science fiction authors like Philip K. Dick and the nascent cyberpunk movement, created a dystopian society of cyborgs and such bleakly beautiful slabs of future shock pop as I wrote this myself,
Yeah.
This is by impressed. As Down in the Park and Our Friends Electric.
Alright. Gary Newman.
Which is all about like cyborgs and androids and that, The beginning of the 21st century saw something of an upsurge in transhumanist imagery in pop culture, with the rise of another of my hits. One of the things that has wrecked a lot of music, autotune.
Oh yeah.
Which we first were introduced to by Cher in 1998 with her hit Believe.
I would say, but there were maybe examples of it before that. I don't know.
I think that was the big one though that kind of brought it to the masses,
Yeah.
Conspiracy researchers have often homed in on Black Eyed Peas' frontman Will.i.am.
Yeah.
As an example of a pop performer who promotes a transhumanist agenda to the youth.
Okay.
For many years, Will.i.am's image has been very evocative of a robot stroke cyborg, and you even see a bit of that sort of imagery and that pop thing he does, the, what do you call it, Best of Britain or Britain Pop Hits or whatever you call it. Simon Cowell's on it.
Yeah.
The pop performer. It's one of those things, I can't remember the name of it.
Britain's Got Talent.
That's the one, yes. This comes from his vocal style, very heavy use of the dreaded auto-tune. And his very stage name, Will.i.am, is very like a web address.
Yeah. Well, it actually is. If you go to will.i.am.
Well, there you go. This is his very identity is merging with technology, it would seem.
I'm on his website now. You can buy a jacket, hideous looking jacket with like a bear's face on it and like the Mercedes logo.
Right.
$2,500.
Are you having a laugh?
Look at that.
For that?
Yeah.
For that? Are you having an absolute
Or if you want to save your
So
money
right.
and get something, get a hoodie instead, $300. Or like a weird plastic doll.
This looks horrible.
Teddy bear thing, $1,700. These people.
With random slogans, purposeful for tomorrow.
It's all to do with, for some reason, Mercedes.
Right, so is he shilling for Mercedes now?
He seems to be.
Very good.
He's maybe going to be connected to his car. Yeah.
Yeah, he could man and machine fusing.
So look at this wee serious bake. Look how
He
serious
looks very different there. He looks, he's kind of
very serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Black Eyed Peas videos have often been laden with robot and cyborg imagery. There's a detailed analysis on the Vigilant Citizen website which focuses on the video to I'm a Bee.
I'm a bee.
Which they argue is a reference to the hive mind mentality of the singularity.
Yeah.
And in this video, Will.i.am tells everyone that it made in the band, the Peas, I will refer to them as the Peas from now on, that he's something cool to show them, and he busts out one of those high-tech aluminium CIA type briefcases and opens it up. The other Peas ask what it is, and he tells them that it is a machine with artificial intelligence that will sample your voice and allow you to just type in the lyrics, and it'll do all the singing, talking, and rapping. He says it's the future, and it's
Was this in the video? Did you say?
Yes, it's all in the video. This is all in the video. He says that it's in the future, and it's what will take the Peas to the year 3008.
Oh,
bit random.
I suppose it was made back in 2008, maybe.
Yeah, that's very weird. The scene continues with another Black Eyed Peas asking, well, if this means that he won't actually be rapping in the studio anymore, and could it be one of the lads? Because there's like, here's your woman, Fergie, Will.i.am, and then the other, is it over two lads or one lad? I can't remember. They're sort of interchangeable. And Will explains that no, he won't be doing the rapping because the machine will do it all, which Will thinks is very cool.
Yeah.
But Fergie goes off in one.
Oh, does she? Yeah.
She gets really mad and puts on a big drama queen display. She says it will take the soul out of it, and it's not real. And finally she says, we're not robots, and leaves the room pissed off. And this is one of the many examples of Will.i.am Black Eyed Peas promoting transhumanist ideas. In a 2012 publicity stunt, Will.i.am's single Reach for the Stars was released from the NASA Mars Curiosity rover. And this was reported by a researcher called Isaac Weishaupt. And he says the code he provided is quite telling if you look at it from this more sinister viewpoint. If you read it from the view that he's secretly trying to implant the idea that it's acceptable to merge the power of technology into our body and become a transhumanistic cyborg, you can see how all the symbolism found in their videos also helps push the propaganda. And there's a quote here from Will.i.am, and he says this is about inspiring young people to lead a life without limits, placing their potential and to pursue collaboration between humanity and technology. Another group that come up in this realm is Daft Punk, who frequently depict themselves as cyborgs with a trademark sound of roboticized vocals over digital beats. Typical example would be harder, bigger, faster, stronger, which is very robotic, harder.
All their stuff's robotic.
It's very robotic.
Was that Kanye West or something used that, sampled that?
I think so, yeah. The song's video shows 4 people being improved through mechanisation. Harder, bigger, faster, stronger. And the group have also performed stage shows from inside of a pyramid, complete with an illuminated capstone and the big eye. You'll see it now. Beyonce, another good example. She's frequently used transhumanist imagery in her performances, such as the video for Single Ladies.
All the single ladies. Right, okay.
Which on the surface is a song about female strength and empowerment, and the sisters doing it for themselves.
Okay.
American musicologist Lennon Honor has pointed out that throughout the video she's wearing a robotic sleeve on her left arm and hand, the merging of the human body with cyborg imagery.
Okay.
And Beyonce has frequently appeared on stage as a robot, resembling the one featured in Fritz Lang's 1926 dystopian silent classic Metropolis.
Yeah.
Another example would be her 2006 track Upgrade You. Other pop stars that employ this imagery include Kylie, Nicki Minaj and Michael Jackson. Miley Cyrus put a rather sinister image on the cover of her single Robot, in which she's pictured as a mutilated cyborg human hybrid on the sleeve. Note also such Hollywood films such as iRobot and AI, which is a bit more predictive programming for you, linking into episode 2. Now, to finish off, we're going to look at the immortal pop star, which is possibly the future of pop. It's to live forever, as Oasis used to say.
Right.
In 2012, a life-size holographic image of murdered rapper Tupac was featured performing beside the real Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre at the Coachella Festival in California. The pioneering image was created by AV Concepts out of San Diego. It took them 4 months and $100,000 to create. And apparently the idea came from none other than Dr. Dre himself.
Right.
AV Concepts boss Nick Smith said, "You can take their likeness and voice and take people that haven't done concerts before or performed music they haven't sung and digitally recreate it." Smith argues that the huge cost of the hologram is balanced out by all the cash saved not having to transport a flesh and blood performing artist to different venues, so it saves money.
Yeah. ABBA did it, of course, didn't they?
I think, yeah, they did, didn't they?
Yeah, something they called it, yeah.
The Tupac hologram was an early adopter on Twitter, and it got an account which managed to get about 3,300 followers.
Wow.
And in 2014, the Billboard Music Awards featured a life-size Michael Jackson hologram, which is about 5 years after he died, which performed Slave to the Rhythm from Michael Jackson's second posthumous album, Escape. So yes, transhumanism, probably worth a series on itself.
It's that Grace Jones song.
I think it might be a cover. Again, you've got more. She was always she was like a sort of dummy trucks kind of cyborg android person, wasn't she? You know. Did she beat up Russell Hartley one time on TV?
I don't know.
I think it was something
she
like
used to go to that club where Trump always went to.
Oh yes, yeah.
Anyway, we have rattled on a bit, so thank you very much for listening. Remember, check out our socials. We're on Facebook if you search for Weirdly Enough or Weirdly Enough Podcast. Also, we're Weirdly Enough PC on Twitter. Do find us there. Email to podcast@weirdlyenough.com. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned. We've got our weird shorts coming up straight after this. So it's that time again to have a look at the weird things that are happening in the news or have caught my eye over the last time. One thing that really caught my eye are what are called desert circles, or sometimes they're called fairy circles. These are strange circles that appear in the desert around the world, commonly in southern Africa, including Angola, Namibia and South Africa, but also Western Australia. Right. So these are fairy circles, or barren patches of sand that usually pop up in grassland. It almost looks like a bunker on a golf course. The reason they attract so much attention is science is puzzled with what causes them. There's many theories, including aliens, and some tourist guides have been known to tell people that they were formed by an underground dragon, while the Himba tribe in Namibia believe they were caused by spirits and their footprints left by the god Mukuru. In the past, scientists have considered that these strange circles could have been created by termites in order to harvest water, but now scientists from Australia believe that grasses engineered these shapes themselves to benefit from limited supplies of water in harsh desert environments. So it's weird you see these weird circles, and it looks like golf courses. So maybe it is an underground dinosaur. I don't see why not. And what do you get a 70-year-old for their birthday? If you know an aged chap.
Good question. I suppose it depends what they're into.
The decision's more difficult when that 70-year-old is none other than Vladimir Putin. However, Belarus's president Alexander Lukashenko thinks he's cracked the gift conundrum by presenting the Russian dictator with a tractor. The strange thing about this story for me wasn't the fact that he gifted him a tractor. Belarusian industry has long boasted tractors as pride of their production. It's the fact that it was a gift certificate, so he didn't actually give him a tractor. Yeah. He said, "Here's a gift certificate for a tractor." And so who knew you could get a gift certificate for a tractor? But there you go. Lukashenko was very proud of. Sorry, I lost my place here. Very proud of his gift, telling reporters that he used a similar model in his garden. So it must be either a very big garden or a very small tractor. Putin is yet to comment on the gift, but I wonder if he just preferred a bottle of vodka. What do you think? Imagine getting that.
I quite like it.
Obligation.
I don't know. I quite like a tractor. You can drive it around.
Imagine being those royals. You used to see the Queen just getting so many gifts. They must have sheds places. It must be like Graceland, where Elvis just had sheds of stuff, just everything. Just put that away. And a new law came into effect in California this year, which for the first time legalizes something that up to now was considered a crime. The Freedom to Walk Act was signed in by Governor Gavin Newsom, stating that police officers can now only cite a citizen for crossing a street outside of a crosswalk if there is an immediate danger of a collision. So jaywalking was a crime. You know the way when we meet up and you see people walking and stumbling out across and head down on their devices and stuff. And a lot of states in America, that is actually a crime. The law looks a bit daft, but it did have darker undertones, with police using powers to stop and harass racial minorities and low-income residents. The state representative Phil Tang said it shouldn't be a criminal offence to safely cross the street. He went on to state we should be encouraging people to get out of their cars and walk for health and environmental reasons. So there you go. And finally, the Metro news sheet loves the story of famous faces spotted in things. And this is up on our Facebook page. A mum, the second one is on the Facebook page. But a mum from Enfield claims she found the image of the character Shrek in a green curry. This woman had an appetite anyway. She ordered curry along pilau rice, sagaloo and Bombay spuds at her local curry house. She was going to eat well. Lisa Edmonds was so taken by the likeness of Shrek that she had trouble eating the meal. And another mother, strangely also called Lisa, this is Lisa Ringsill from Dundee, claims she saw the face of Elvis complete with his defined head, trademark quiff, eyes, mouth and sideburns in a pot of McDonald's ketchup. But to me it looked more like... Did you see it? I put it on Facebook. Yeah. It looked more like Robbie Burns.
It definitely had a bit of Robbie Burns about him.
The famous poet.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sideburns and everything. It's on our socials there if you want to take a look. Just search Weirdly Enough on Facebook. We'll be back again next week, and we're going to be talking about backmarking. Isn't that right? Backmasking. So tune in then. That's going to be fun. Have a great week. Remember, email podcast@weirdlyenough.com, and do like and subscribe. Leave a review if you can wherever you get your podcast. It would help immensely. Thank you very much for listening. Talk soon.
Thanks for listening to Weirdly Enough. Remember to subscribe to get the latest edition as soon as it drops. And don't forget to leave a review. Email us about anything we've discussed or with your own weird tale at podcast@weirdlyenough.com.